Good afternoon, family. It's good to be with you again. I've been giving a lot of thought to these questions and relationships and some of the things I want to put in front of you today. And as I think about some of my own experiences and as it relates to just relationships in general and the overall healthy and wealthiness of a relationship, many a times I think that we forget to have these discussions with our significant others that are relatively important to us. We sometimes, we're so in love or enamored with our relationships that we think it's okay to just let things go by and not give much attention to things that are really, really important to us, that we just let go by, and we take it for granted that the other person is going to understand what our needs are. And we fail to have these open, honest discussions with them about the relationship that are really important to the relationship or the survival of it anyway. I think one of the things that happens to us who finds ourselves in a situation like that is that we tend to believe that the other person is responsible not only for their happiness, but we allow them to carry the weight of the relationship on their shoulders by allowing them not to just make themselves happy, but we hold them responsible for making us happy too. I know we don't intend to, and we don't think that we're putting that kind of pressure on someone else, but in hindsight, I think that we do. I think that we give another person just way too much credit for being responsible for our happiness and for the survival and healthiness of the relationship. If you think about it, a relationship in this manner, consider this question here. How does your relationship feel to you right now? How does it feel right now? Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you content? Or are you just faking it till you make it? I guarantee you one of those situations apply to you and your relationship. I see people all the time. I hear folks all the time, whether it's at work or in friendships or whatever. I hear people say, man, I wish things were different, or, hopefully things are going to change. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I'm not as happy as I used to be. I'm not excited as I used to be. I don't know where we are. I don't know what's going on. That's too much. That's too much of not knowing to be that attached to something and not know where you are. Not to allow yourself to receive what you need and what you want that is going to make you whole and make you an integral part of the relationship that you're in. The survival of it depends on your input. It depends on where you stand in this relationship, how you feel. How you feel is of paramount importance. Not just how I feel or you feel, but how we feel. How we feel about ourselves and how we feel about each other, and then how we feel about the relationship. So, another question is, what is your goal? What is the end game of what you're doing? What is the end game of the relationship that you're currently in? Are you in a dating relationship and you hoping to get married? Are you married and hoping that your relationship turns out better than what it is? Would you classify your relationship as a fixer-up, or you have problems that are unresolved that need to be fixed? Are you satisfied with the relationship? So is satisfaction something that you're looking to gain some control of in this relationship? Perhaps that you're looking to think about what's important holistically for you, not so much about your partner, but about yourself. Or you're a parent and you're trying to raise your children in spite or in the midst of this relationship, and somehow or another, friction is being caused by one entity or the other. So when you think about what is the goal or the end game of the relationship, you have to consider not just what's important to you, you have to consider what's important to each of you, because if I'm happy and you're not, we still got a problem. If you happy and I'm not, we still got a problem. We have to find a happy medium where we both can realize and accept the fact that we play a role in where we are and where we're going. And we have to have that conversation consistently and constantly until we achieve our objective. It has to be. Now, relationships can be in and of themselves a good thing or a bad thing. But whatever it is, good, bad, ugly, otherwise, is because it's affected by something else. Some outside source, some internal source that is causing the relationship to be where it is. We can say that there are things that affect the relationship and the betterment of it, or the cause of us being in this trifling situation in the relationship. So if one party is cheating and the other one is not, that's a problem. And it is going to affect your relationship. It is going to affect the outcome of it. Sometimes you can go through it and get through it and get to the other side of that, forgiving the other person for the mistake that they made. But sometimes you can't. And even when you do, you'll never forget it. You'll never forget that hurt. You'll never forget that pain. And you'll never forget the fact that the infidelity caused you some grief. So, is there a depressive issue that's going on in your relationship that's affecting the outcome of your relationship? Or one or both of you depressed about something, the loss of a loved one, or a friendship, or a job, or whatever that might be that's causing you to be in a depressive state? Now, sex is a huge element of the relationship. If from a sexual perspective, one party is happy and the other party is not, your relationship's gonna suffer. If you don't understand what your partner needs and you just getting off, you get yours and I get mine's kind of mentality, your relationship is truly gonna suffer. You have to have the sex talk. You have to have conversations about how you want to feel, what you want to feel, how you want to be touched, what's it going to take to help you to reach your climax. Those things are important. That's not a dirty conversation. That's not a nasty conversation. That's an adult conversation. That's a conversation that's going to help you to be where you need to be in your relationship. You know, sometimes people can love each other, but are sexually unfulfilled. So they seek love and intimacy on the outside of the relationship to help keep the current relationship in perspective. Well, that may not work for you, but I can assure you there are people who are participating in that practice. They don't want to leave the person that they're with, but if they find a sexual healing on the outside of their relationship, they are going to try to stay with the other person while maintaining a physical relationship with the party that satisfies their physical appetite. So I would encourage you to have that conversation with your significant other about what your sexual needs are, your physical needs are, and what is it going to take to get you to the point of sexual fulfillment with that person. Because if you don't have that conversation, somebody's going to be loving your partner. I don't advocate it. I don't think it's right. I think love is love, and if you're in it to win it and you're in it for the long haul, for whatever the situation is, the good, the bad, the ugly wise, you find a way to make that work. You find a way to have that conversation with each other to determine what you need to do to make your relationship sexually fulfilling. Now, if there are other such things going on in your relationship like anxiety, being overweight, being underweight, just any of those things that is causing your relationship not to reach its maximum potential. That's a lot. That's a lot of pressure on two people in a relationship to just allow it to just not come to fruition. You have got to put these things in right perspective. You have got to have conversations about all of these things that is going to make your relationship healthy. So you have to talk to each other. You're going to have to communicate with each other. You're going to have to find a healthy place in your relationship to talk about the things that can and will destroy your relationship. So on another perspective, you can ask yourself, are you satisfied with the way the two of you handle your differences? You have a conversation about something that you disagree on. Do you disagree to the point that you get angry with each other and refuse to sleep in the same bed with each other for a couple of days until you straighten it out? Or are you dissatisfied to the point with the way you guys handle your disagreements to the point that you say, well, I'm not having sex with you until you apologize, until you fix it? How do you handle your disagreements? How do you handle situations that you guys are indifferent about? Because the way you handle those type of situations can and will destroy your relationship. It can make it awfully hard to be in a productive relationship with that kind of baggage hanging over your head. You guys are going to have to communicate. You have to talk about those things that are important. And it's okay to agree to disagree, but you have to talk about it to the point that you accept the fact that you don't agree. You might not like what the other person says. You might not like the way they handle the situation, but nevertheless, you have to get to an amicable point where you guys can agree to disagree. You have to. You cannot let these things manifest and take care of themselves, because that's the worst thing you can do, is to allow any of this to take care of itself. You have to take care of it. The two of you are responsible for taking care of your household, whatever that is. You guys are going to have to do your work. You are going to have to do the work. Would you say that you guys can talk about any issue? Are you afraid to have certain conversations with your significant other? Do you think that they just might not understand? Do you think that it will be hard to communicate to them something that you know they're not going to like, something you know they're going to disagree with? Would you still communicate it with them nevertheless? Because at minimum, you owe them the right to be able to decide for themselves whether they choose to agree or disagree. You can't make that decision for them. You can't decide for them what they're going to be able to handle and what they're not going to be able to handle. What they are going to be able to handle is the truth. Even if they disagree with it, they are going to be able to handle the truth, because there is no exception. There is no other opportunity for the truth. The truth is its own truth. You can't change it. You can't make it different. You can't fix it. Truth is the truth all by itself. But on the other hand, what people cannot handle is if you lie to them, if you deceive them. Because if you tell that one lie, you're going to have to tell another one to clean it up. And every time it comes up, if you say something different about it, it's just egg in the face. That means you can't be trusted. You can't be trusted. It's almost impossible to be in a relationship with somebody that you can't trust. You have to be able to trust the person that you sleep next to. Or even if you don't sleep next to them and you live in different, but you have to trust the person that you love. You have to trust the person that you want and desire to have a future with. You have to. It's important that you do. Think about it like this. Is it hard for you to support the person that you disagree with? Is it hard to support your significant other when you guys have varying degrees of understanding? Is it hard to support that? Again, I tell you that it's not about who's right and who's wrong. It's about how much are you willing to compromise? And are you willing to be the same person with your significant other, even though you guys disagree? Are you still willing to go the extra mile? Are you still willing to hold them in high esteem? Are you still willing to treat them and love them and care about them as you always have, even though you have disagreements? Now, if your disagreements are calm and collective and handled in an adult-like manner, there's no level of disrespect there, even though you disagree. But when you call people out their name, you say things that are just unkind and words that you can't take back, that can be a nail in the coffin right there. Again, it's okay to disagree, but it is never okay to accept from another person for you to call them out their name or to talk about them in such a way, man, that it caused that your relationship suffer as a result of that. That is probably one of the most disrespectful things that you can do. You can't call your significant other a B or a W or H or D or whatever it might be, and then you expect to touch them, you expect to lay next to them, and you expect them to feel warm and fuzzy about you and want to be intimate with you. It ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. And that kind of abuse, that kind of hurt, and that kind of pain is truly mental. It's truly a mental thing. If you and that person stay in that relationship after arguments and conversations like that, that is a mental situation because they're going to think about it all the time. They're never going to forget about it. It is always going to be there. Always. So think about this on another point. How important is for you to make sure that your partner is satisfied? Not just satisfied with sex, but satisfied with the relationship, satisfied with you, satisfied with the way you treat them, satisfied with the way that you respect them, satisfied with the way you talk to them, satisfied with the way you care for them and look out for them, satisfied with the overall significance of the relationship and the amount of care and attention that you give to them. Can you say that your partner truly supports you in all of your endeavors and all of the things that you want to do and you find important to you? Can you say that you support your partner in all those things? Is your partner a great communicator? Are you a great communicator? Do you strive to always communicate your feelings and your emotions about what's important? You know, sometimes women seem to think that men are from Venus and women are from Mars. That might be true. But when you guys are under the same roof and you have the same objective, you have to assume that that person has feelings too. They have emotions just like you. Women think that men are not supposed to cry, or men don't have feelings, or men don't think about being hurt or getting the short end of the stick, or not being cared for or cared about or any of those things. And that is so far from the truth. So far from the truth. Men are just as, they hurt just as much as anybody else. They feel just as much as anybody else. They desire just as much as anybody else. Everything that you think that you feel as a woman as it relates to your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, when you're in a relationship with somebody, all of that matters. All of that matters. Because think about it. When your partner hurts, so do you. When they cry, so do you. When they're down and out or disgusted or feeling some kind of way about other situations in their lives, it affects you. It affects you in every way possible because you feel for that person. You love that person enough that you truly think that helping them through their situations is to have empathy for them. Not sympathy, but empathy. It makes a huge difference for a person, for your significant other, to know that you support them and that you feel for them and that you have empathy for them and that you feel some kind of way because they feel some kind of way. Relationships are a lot of work. You can't just meet Sally or Jan or John or Bob or Billy and fall in love and don't consider them and their feelings and their emotions and all those things that are important to them. It's so everything that starts off new always starts off fresh and bright and full of gaiety and full of excitement and full of all of that vigor and vitality. But if you don't keep it up, and if you sent the wrong representative to represent you in the initiation of this relationship, that representative is going to have to stay on the job, because you're not going to get a second chance to make that first impression. The impression that you made in the beginning is the impression that you're going to be stuck with. But is that the impression that you want to be stuck with? Because that impression may have been good for the moment and only the moment, but not good for the entirety of the relationship. So sooner or later, you're going to have this come to Jesus meeting about your relationship, and who should have really showed up but didn't, and now they want to show up, and you're going to have to ask this person to open up their doors and their heart and all that they are to receive receive the you and to release the representative. That's not always easy, depending on how long you allow this foolishness to go on. That's why it's never good to send a representative to say what you mean or to do what you would do, knowing that that's not who you are. So listen, I guess the whole point of this conversation is to tell you to check yourself, check your relationship, ask yourself some of these questions about your relationship, whether or not you're happy, whether or not you guys are great communicators together, whether or not you guys support each other, whether or not you guys can still stand with each other and for each other in the midst of a disagreement, whether or not you trust this person with your life, whether or not this person has your back, whether or not this person is going to be there for you if you're sick or you're down or you're out, whether or not this person has your best interest at heart, whether or not the person that you with is mindful of what's important to you and understand your love languages. You need to ask yourself all of these questions, but you need to ask your partner as well about these questions and how they are affected by these questions, and hopefully that you guys will find a happy medium and end up in a place where you realize that you are good for each other, that you are the best thing possible for each other. And if not, then perhaps you'll find a way to release yourselves from that and find and let God find for you that person that is best for you. Now, relationships can go on and on and on without much change, because everybody gets comfortable and they get laxed in a relationship and they think that they've made it. They think that the relationship is at a place where it ought to be and where it should be. And that's good for that moment. But people are constantly evolving. They're constantly changing. They're constantly moving into their own space and their own abilities and their own purposes for their lives. So quite often you have to have these come to Jesus conversations to make sure that you guys are on the same page, to make sure that your relationship is not suffering any lack thereof. So you can't take a relationship for granted and assume that the best is going to happen when you're not doing anything to keep it motivated. You have to keep it motivated, stimulated, and cultivated often, because you want to be able to pull up the good crop. Pull it up, use it like it's supposed to be used, and then plant good seed. Plant fresh seeds for new growth. Your relationship is not a one-way street. It's not it's not that you turn down the street and it's a dead end. It's not supposed to be a dead end. It's supposed to be like a cul-de-sac. It's supposed to be like a what do they call these circular streets now, where you have the circles or whatever. Because as long as there's that circle and you're constantly going around, you have other avenues of approach to approach your relationship from, not other relationships, but you have other entities that are significant to your relationship. And by going around, and you get to see what those things are. You get to find out where you are and what you need to be doing and how to make your relationship a better place for the both of you. Don't take each other for granted. Don't just assume that because you have sex once a week that you satisfied the need. Don't assume that because you bought him or her a gift that they're satisfied for a long time. Don't assume because you did a good thing that is going to take care of an ill-fated something that you did that you're trying to make amends for. Don't make any assumptions like that, unless, of course, you have demonstrated to that person that you truly do love them and you truly are sorry for whatever mistake you made, whatever issues you have, whatever it is you need to overcome, that you guys have this conversation about the status of your relationship. You should do a pre-check and all that stuff to certify your relationship as solid. So listen, I give you guys a lot of stuff to think about, a lot of things to consider for your relationship, a lot of things. If you're not happy, you're not even satisfied, why are you there? You can't just be there. You know, you get to be a certain age in life, there's no such thing as faking it till you make it. You know what you want. You know what you need. You know where you need to be. If that's not where you are, there's no faking it till you make it. Life is absolutely entirely too short to be talking about faking it till you make it. If you want to fake something, fake the funk. Fake the fact that you need to figure out what's important to you and stop lying to yourself. Stop fooling yourself. And put yourself in right perspective. Put yourself in the place where you need to be to receive the very best that God has for you. The things that you know that you are purposed for, intended for, and where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. Not only are you keeping yourself from a good and righteous place, but you're doing a disservice to the other person that you're with if you don't truly love them, if you don't truly respect them, if that's not truly where you want to be. Nobody's making you be there. But if you're going to be there, do right by that person, holistically, in every way. Make no decisions by yourself. Make decisions collectively. Collectively. Not for each other, but with each other, together. And determine where you are and where you need to be. There's a lot on the table when you talk about spending the rest of your life with somebody or being with somebody and giving your all to them. You should expect to receive their all back from them to you. You know what that looks like. So do they. Take care of each other and take care of yourselves and have this conversation. Take care. See you soon. Let me hear your comments. Remember, like, share, and subscribe.